All right, let's bring him on. He's with us every Tuesday and Thursday. He is our resident CFL expert. Glen Suitor joins us. And Suits, back on Friday when the Jake Mayer press conference was happening, he was saying all the right things about coming to Rider Nation. But I said to Darian yesterday, you can say all the right things, but I don't think anybody has any idea what it's like to play for the Riders, especially quarterback, until you get here and you get in it, right?
Well, totally true, Maz. And when you think about the pressure that is on the quarterback position, I mean, when Ronnie Lancaster is booed, and that happened late late in his career, like crazy, with what he had accomplished for the franchise. And but it's not just because it's a crowd that is on always on the quarterback position and always angry with them. It's a knowledgeable crowd that is totally emotionally invested in the team, and they want results. And if you're not producing results, you hear it. You absolutely hear it. And it's basically saying, hey, we're not making this up. You're not winning enough games, and what's going on at the quarterback position? Because that's where it starts. And Jake also should understand that as the number two, you're the king for a long time. When you're the number two
Mhm.
QB, you are the guy, while the other one tries to figure it out, no matter who he is. So I think it's a great match. I mean, when you think about Jake being there, I've seen some games. The way he started his career as a starter in Calgary, the first three games were over 300 yards. No other quarterback had ever done that as a young starting quarterback. I mean, that you got to think of the names when you throw out a stat like that. Think about the names. I mean, no other quarterback had done it. Warren Moon, Doug Flutie, Ricky Ray, Ron Lancaster. Like Kent Austin. Throw out the names of the great quarterbacks in the league. No one had ever done it. So that's what Jake is capable of. And I think there were some other issues on that team in Calgary that weren't necessarily his fault, and that he couldn't control. So I think it's a great matchup. It's a great fit. Um, there's similar styles, him and Trevor, and I think that will help. So they don't have to be drastically different. Although there is something to be said about having two completely different style guys to give defenses different looks. But this way there can be consistency in the play calling and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a great signing. Not to mention the fact that heading into free agency and then eventually the draft, now the organization, coaching staff, and Coach Mace has a chance to say, okay, we know where our quarterbacks are going to be. We know our coaching staff, and we're able to put together an offense, put together our wish list for free agency and where we need to prioritize. And I think every team is doing that right now.
Suits, don't you think it's two parts here? Don't you think it's a great spot for Jake Mayer to land here in Saskatchewan for a number of reasons? I mean, it's great to be with the Saskatchewan Roughriders organization, of course, the best fans that there are in the Canadian Football League. But he comes in as a 27-year-old, although he seems older than that. He's behind a 39-year-old that, Father Time, he never loses that battle. So he comes here, not a ton of pressure on him from a situation in Calgary, and he gets to get behind Trevor Harris, maybe learn from one of the most accurate passers ever in the Canadian Football League. And then the second part I'll ask you, don't you think with those two, all those things maybe in some of those points and more that you have, I'm sure, don't you think that puts the Riders maybe with the best 1-2 punch in the league?
Yeah, I think they're up there as far as, just to answer the last part. They're definitely with those two experienced quarterbacks, similar styles, play calling consistency, and a big upside with Jake. I was saying it all year last year when that team struggled in Calgary that I had a chance many times to Zoom or talk on video with Jake and preparing for games. And, his approach, his professionalism, he's going to be such a great fit with Trevor. I mean, him and Trevor, they're students of the game. They're going to be coaches when they're done one day down the road. They are constantly looking in the mirror, and so the self-reflection and the self-evaluation is always there. I mean, they are trying to find new ways and new edges to beat teams and beat defenses. So I think when you add all that up and you look at the experience that they have, if Trevor gets nicked and has got to miss a game or two, and you mentioned his age, it becomes more of an issue. Then they've got a guy that can win. And I was a big kind of backer of Jake Maier when he was getting a lot of heat in Calgary. I mean, even the coaching staff at time were hinting that they were going to go in a different direction, and they certainly did quickly. So yeah, I think it's a great 1-2 punch, and I think you've got a chance now to look at free agency. Okay, where are the pieces that we need to support these two guys, because you can win a championship with that combination.
Yeah, the ultimate team game football, but everything got pinned on Jake Maier in Calgary. But he was hitting receivers in the hands, and they were dropping balls. And I heard you on the broadcast. Like, there's nothing more he could do there. He doesn't control the construction of the defensive line, or the lack of defensive line, and the breakdowns in the secondary and all of that. Yeah, does he have to shoulder some of the blame? And I guess that's why you're the quarterback. So real low pressure situation. Yeah, he was, I would say, a scapegoat, and he was an easy one in Calgary.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he's happy to be out of there and have a fresh start. Big news out of Riderville yesterday. We got our middle linebacker and Jameer Thurman locked up for the next couple of years. To me, most important free agent that we had out there. Suits, can you name me a football team that's successful that doesn't have a good middle linebacker?
Yeah, well, you can go back in time. I mean, to the Edmonton dynasty years of Dan Kepley in the middle, and David Albright in our championship year, 30 years ago. I'm sure Darian would mention linebackers that were leaders on their defense. Absolutely. I mean, think about the Grey Cup in Vancouver this past year and what Witten McManus meant to that Arts defense, and just the plays that he was making, both physically, but again, the respect that he garners when he walks in the locker room, and the team's got their head down or whatever, which is human nature. Guys like that just turn it around immediately. They won't accept it, and they set the standard. Jameer Thurman is absolutely that guy. And I made a list of free agents that the Riders have that will become free agents if they don't re-sign them. Just priorities, and it's funny because my 1 and 2 were Malik Carney and Jameer Thurman right off the top. So I made this list the day before they signed, and I thought, okay, yeah, Coach Mace is on the same page. And I made the note with Thurman on Witten McManus. I mean, that's the comparable to me. And think back at just how valuable he was in the Grey Cup, against the Bombers.
Suits, I was going to also ask you about, when you talk about the Riders and looking ahead to next year, just your thoughts on Coach Mace and him coming back for a second season with him. Obviously, when he started, everybody was rah. Everybody was buying what he was selling, and he was a great speaker, and he got us all fired up as fans, and it worked well with the team also. Just your thoughts on Coach Mace coming back here to the Riders now for a second season, and what he and his staff can do to build on what they did in a very successful first one.
Well, Bidsy, first of all, I got to ask you, because we're on the podcast here, did you have to wear a press pass to get in today? Like, because you look like you have a press pass. Yeah. Was that a press pass? Like you?
Yeah.
You were only allowed.
Well, I'm at the Western Egg Crop Production Show. So yeah, no, I had to.
Okay.
That's why I'm not. Yeah. They wouldn't let me into the station either. They try to always find a way to not let me in. But no, I'm on. I'm live on location here with our egg culture here. Right?
Okay.
Hey, Suits, we got to get you to trade in that 2023 combine and get you into a new 2025 model. So we'll talk after. We got
Love
good
it.
terms, good financing terms.
I did some tours with a bunch of the companies, and have in the past when we were talking about involvement with the radio station, some of the big ag companies joining us here at the station, and yeah, some great people that love their football. So that's why you got the pass on. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think of Mace in year two, I sort of draw on the memories as a player in year two, and year one is like you're standing in the middle of a freeway, and not in Toronto or Vancouver where the freeways are parking lots, but like a real freeway down south or something when cars are flying by you, and you just are trying to hang on. You really are. In your first year, I don't care how great a college career you had or where you went to school or whatever, it's a different beast at the pro level. It's from the shoulders up. You cannot make mental mistakes. All those things that are going on in your mind. And in year one, the same can be said as coaches. They probably won't admit it. They want to be confident always in front of everyone, including the media and their own team that'll be watching the media reports. But I guarantee you, it's the same for coaches. They're standing in the middle of that freeway. Things are flying by. They're trying to hang in there. They're trying to figure it out on the fly, and they're trying to juggle a lot of different things in the air. So now Corey Mace can come with a completely reworked game plan. Not to say he's going to change what he's already built, the culture and things like that, and empowering the players. I think that's the key to it. When I watch throughout these years, good teams that come together, they empower a Jameer Thurman to be the leader in the locker room and don't micromanage that. And they make sure that Jameer Thurman is the right guy. They make sure that Wint McManus is the right guy. You can't put a guy in that position in your locker room that's not the right guy. So that judgment, in free agency or wherever you pull players, last week when we were just about to come on, Corey Mace was on an interview, and I was listening in online, and I heard Mace talk about free agency, and the question I think was, what positions are you looking at to try and add to the team that you already have? And he said, well, the first thing we're going to look at is the character of the player. Like it was automatic that he didn't talk about 40s or skill or can he catch it or any of those things first. Those are important things, but he didn't bring him up first. His first response and his gut response was, first thing we do is we judge their character. And are they going to fit? Are they the right guys? And Jameer Thurman is the right type of guy. So once you have those guys, then you empower them to lead. For us, it was Roger Aldag and Eddie Lowe and Ray Elgart, those type of players. And, when you have those guys and then you empower them. So Corey can build on that. But as far as logistics in camp, how much he works, how much they rest, the type of work they need to be doing. Sometimes it's not doing more work, it's actually just working smarter. How can he manage his time better? How about the draft and how he's going to prepare for that? All of those things are a monster jump better in year two. And then you just keep fine tuning as you go. But the former player in me, the jump from year one to where your nose is just poking out of the water or you're drowning. That's year one. Year two, you're up there treading pretty nicely, and in fact could probably swim around a little bit and you can start to get things done.
Suits, I'll agree with you. Probably in year two, one thing that I think may happen is not that he wasn't decisive in decision making. There may be more decisions, especially at training camp. Like last year when they cut Mason Fine, a lot of people were clutching their pearls. Oh no, what are we going to do without him? I think the belief in the system to be like, no, if we make a personnel decision, we know that we have somebody there. And the reason why we're getting rid of this player, which may have history with the team, is because we feel that we can be here with them. So that's what I'm kind of looking for now. And then that will probably obviously continue throughout the season where maybe they do things a little differently. Probably the big news today is Ed Hervey came out and said that Geno Lewis, they're going to let him go test free agency. And to me, He's the most coveted free agent out there. The Riders have lacked a number one wide receiver for a long, long time. A lot of people think it's the one thing that we're missing. Our quarterbacks are at really good money. The dynamic. It's not that we don't have talent at that position, but we don't have a guy that necessarily. Winnipeg has a scary receiving core. All right. Toronto has a scary receiving core. We don't have a scary receiver. We're just missing a piece. Would Geno Lewis be a piece that you would look to add?
It all depends on the price. It really does. And I hate bringing this up because receivers are going to stop talking to me because
they're divas anyway. Suits. They're divas anyway. Yeah.
Well, listen. I'm all for players getting as much money as they possibly can, and hopefully we continue to see revenues grow and players can, really start to see their paychecks bigger in the near and distant future. So I'm always for that, and receivers are no different. But when you mentioned in Saskatchewan that the team has the two solid quarterbacks that they can really build around now. So what's next? Well, the O-line is next. In fact, the O-line is probably before the quarterbacks. But get that O-line. I know it's not sexy. It's not fun to talk about. They're not the big names in the paper and scoring touchdowns. But those guys, especially with two drop-back pocket passers, are going to be crucial. They went through so many due to injury that Corey Mace understands now in year two, not just the starting five. You could have a good starting five, and get some of your injured players back, but you need to be 7, 8 deep that are all-star caliber. So make sure of that. I think that's the priority. So to get back to Geno Lewis, if Geno Lewis comes in, and I heard the interview with Ed Hervey, I thought it was excellent because when he talked about resetting the market, usually what happens in free agency with these one-year deals now that, there's going to be a lot of good receivers or quality DBs or whatever it may be in the free agent market. And when those first two fall, when they decide, then the market is sort of sits there. And in fact, it actually, I think these one-year contracts hurt players because there's so many to choose from. You can get a veteran DB and you don't have to pay a whole lot more because there's a whole bunch on that list, maybe after the first one. If Roland Milligan was the first one, that one falls, and then you go, okay, the rest are in this category of price. So Geno Lewis is going to be one of the top guys. There's no question. Maybe one of the best in the league. Arguably you could say he's maybe the best receiver in the league. So he, where is he going to go, and what type of money is a team willing to spend? If an Ottawa or some other team wants to throw a ton of money at him, then no, I don't think the Riders should go down that road and compromise a good solid rush end or a great tackle or a great free agent, even right guard on offense. I just, I think you build your trenches first. If you want a winning organization, I think that's the way the Bombers have done it. They have had a lot of changes in their receiving core in the last 4 or 5 years. They've had a lot of changes. And they had Kenny Lawler leave for a year and then come back. And, and they kept showing up in the playoffs. And then they'd show up in the Grey Cup every year. Now they haven't won as many as they'd like to, but they keep showing up in the big game. And they do it because of Willie Jefferson and a D-line that is always dominant. When you go to their O-line and you look at their top guys, always good, and they have the next one ready to go and prepared to go. So yeah, I like Geno Lewis. I think he's great. I hope he makes as much money as he can. But if I'm the Riders, I'm not overspending for him. I heard you guys talk with Arash too, and Arash says, hey, that's the missing piece. And it would be a real cool piece to have. A lot of great talk about it on the radio. We would be excited about it for Rider fans, but I'm not overspending. I'm not overpaying. So let's see how the market adjusts when he does go to free agent, because clearly Hervey's not going to sign him before free agency.
A lot of thoughts
what-
there.
okay. No,
A lot of thoughts there.
I wanted to, because this has been beaten to death, on not only on this show but everywhere else, and the lack of the CFL schedule, and it's just not a good look for. They're trying to, for all the steps forward. This to me is a huge step back. And do you have any insight of when this may finally come down? Because as you know, Glenn, in a market like this, where it takes a whole team effort of everybody in the province and the surrounding provinces called Rider Nation, a lot of us travel. You got to put some plans together. It's not just a 5-minute drive to the stadium for a lot of fans. And the longer this waits, people will start making plans and doing other stuff. Cabins, lakes, vacations, you name it. They're doing it.
Weddings.
Weddings.
Yeah.
Like, just stuff, or just to be like, nah, the window is closing. Every day the window closes.
Well, I put together a whole bunch of possible reasons for this, and they've all been pretty much crossed off. First of all, FIFA World Cup, wrong year. That's another year out. That's 26. So that doesn't have anything to do with it. A 10th team, we know that's not happening, or we would have heard something. We heard recently, in fact, just last week, that it has nothing to do. I thought maybe it'd have something to do with a neutral site game, that they wanted to make sure that was solidified before they moved forward with the rest of the schedule. That sounds like that's not happening. At least that's what Farhan had reported last week, and I trust Farhan in his reporting. So therefore, that's not an excuse. There is regular stadium issues, but I just find it a stretch to think that they didn't know those issues, or they didn't know those dates, in November or October even, and could have been working at that time on the regular issues with schedule and things like that. I said last week, and will repeat again today, that I talked to a senior producer at TSN. This has nothing to do with the TV contract. And we have 2 more years on the TV contract with the CFL currently. And it would be the same programming. So those Thursday night games, Friday night games, Saturday in the summer, some Sundays as well. So, the scheduling basically won't change there. And I can't find any more excuses other than, because of the fact, and I don't want to get political, but because of the fact that we have a commissioner that has said he's retiring. And when I bring up politics, people know exactly what I'm talking about. When you declare that you're leaving, the rest of your staff is trying to prioritize. They have to take care of their families too. So they're trying to decide, well, if a new commissioner comes in, does that mean they make changes and bring in their own people, or are they going to hire me? Should I be looking for another job? How much does that distract away from trying to put together this schedule and everything else that the league would need to do at this time? I hope the Board of Governors, and they're meeting right away here, that I hope that they are going to have a sense of urgency, because it's not just the schedule. First of all, there's no excuse for it. It's frustrating. I feel for the fans. I hate having to defend our league like this. It's happened too many times where, guys like us that love our league have got to defend it, because there's just no excuse for it. The last 2 years, it's been out before Christmas. Why not this year? The only difference is the announcement from the commissioner late in the season that has caused nothing but uncertainty in the league office right now. So that's the only, excuse I could give them. Beyond that, we should have a schedule. We should have had it a long time ago. We should have had it before Christmas, especially if there's no neutral site or anything like that could be causing a problem. Let's go, because you guys are absolutely right. We are making plans for the summer. if you want to get the best airfare on anything you're doing in the summer, you're booking now. You're booking your flights now. You're not waiting. So you need to know if you want to see the Rider Bomber game in the summer, is that going to still be on the Labor Day weekend, or are we going to see it? Like, we don't know until we get that schedule. And just frustrating is a word that I keep using so that I don't use other words.
Suits, about the only excuse that you didn't give, which I love using nowadays, it's my blanket excuse for anything when it goes wrong. I just say simply, got to blame it on climate change. I don't know. That's the catch-all for everybody else, man. For anything going on in the world, it's climate change. So the CFL is not immune to it.
Maz, but if we do that, then we're going to have to tax it. Like, we're going to have to set another tax up, like, for something. Is there going to be a schedule?
Suits, there is a job open, and I'm not talking about CFL commissioner. With that kind of thinking, I think you are the guy that may be able to step in. You just got to win a little popularity contest.
Yeah.
With some other people. We'll get you heavily funded. We'll start get some old money behind you here. Yeah. Jeez Louise. Hey, I don't know.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Like, I am calling reporters that we have across the country, my connections with the, in the league and all of that. I'm asking this question every day. When is it coming out? Where is it? Why is it taking so long? As soon as I get that information, I will text you guys, and you can let the listeners and viewers know. And you don't need a press pass to get that information, Bitsy. We'll just,
sure. But the thing is, though, is I got one, so so I can, I don't know if my Western Canadian egg production press pass is going to help get us there any quicker, but let's just hope. Let's hope we get it sometime soon. Suits, you got to find your life too, man.
We'll wrap on this. So last night, the Minnesota Vikings lose to the LA Rams. There was 9 sacks. Sam Darnold, the poor guy, sacked 9 times. Have you ever been part of a football game where there was 9 sacks?
Well, I remember, I think we had 7. I want to say 7 in a game. I remember back in the day when we were blitzing from the safety position, which you guys would know that I would know that meant I was at the line of scrimmage then. And that really helped us, and that would have reminded me of, and that's actually one of the reasons that I was wondering, like, Barney's not in today, and I was wondering if he was legitimately sick, or was he, I bet on the wrong teams.
No, he had sent me a text to tell Arash that he bet on the Rams, like 2.5 units. Just a second, let me pull this up. And you're not the only one questioning why he's not here. My wife was like, "Where's Barney? What's his deal? Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Just a sec."
I just hope he's not renegotiating his mortgage because of the wild card weekend.
Yeah. You often wonder, right? Suits. He likes to have some big weeks sometimes. So yeah, the purple tears. I think that's what Maz called them.
The purple hashtag purple tears. 2 units. All right. We'll let you go on this. Real quick. Who comes out as a winner between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional? We don't care about the other ones because there are 2 potential NFL MVPs playing in this game, trying to cement their legacy, but without Super Bowls, they got to get there and they got to win.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Is it going to be Lamar Jackson or is it going to be Josh Allen?
Yeah. I'm going to lean towards Josh Allen. I just like his demeanor. I think Lamar and that run game, Lamar and that run game is going to be what you see if Trey Ford makes it in Edmonton and they have any one of those great backs in the backfield. That's the type of offense you're going to see in Edmonton. That riding the side, those those RPO type plays. But Lamar still, to me, has, and I haven't watched a whole bunch of it, so I'm not going to be real critical. I just mean, when I see him, there's still this, a couple of times you go, what was he thinking factor? It's a great team. They've got a great tailback. I get it, all that. I love their system. It's a good matchup in this game, but I'm going to go with Josh Allen. Just lean that way. I like his demeanor. It just feels like he's in more control.
Last one for me,
All
since
right.
I know you got to go. I was just going to say this one real quick, though. I got a buddy of mine. He's got 2 young kids. The missus says you can usually watch 1 football game. Otherwise he's got to do dad duties. So, okay, so if he's got to pick that 1 football game, Suits, and he's taking your advice, Texans, Chiefs, Commanders, Lions, Rams, Eagles, Ravens, Bills, what are you going to tell him that maybe he should pick that one?
Oh, Ravens Bills. That's going to be I want to see that game. Yeah, I want to see the defense against the Ravens, how they defend that RPO with Henry, and where they're riding that and Lamar is taking off. I mean, we used to call it the zap technique when we played against guys like Tracy Ham that would run that type of offense. And the zap technique was real simple. No matter what, zap the quarterback immediately. Make him pitch it immediately so that it becomes just a sweep and there's no riding or deciding or reading involved anymore. Everyone can rally to the back. So that's how you beat on defense, Lamar Jackson type offense with their tailback and the way they run it. You got to zap the quarterback, hit him immediately, make him pitch it immediately, and you got a chance. We'll see. But that's the game.
That's the game. All right.
Press coverage with Glen Suitor. Suits will be back in on Thursday with Barney, as always. I love any chance we get a chance to spend some time together. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, big game in the NHL, or big night in the NHL, 13 games. We'll dive into that next. It's the all-new Sports Cage streaming live on our website at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.